Follow your pain and it will lead you to the truth. Trust your first thought. It's your first thought for a reason. It's a quote from my buddy Yufeng. Here's one we got together. It is better to trust yourself and be wrong than to doubt yourself and remain stuck. What sparked this thought in me is I thought about how being truthful sometimes can be really painful for somebody. I've come a long way in my eating disorder. Not my eating, a eating disorder. And I'm not gonna own that. It's not part of me. I don't identify with it. So it's an eating disorder that used to cripple me. There's a difference with identifying with it. But yesterday I was kind of going back to the old habit a little bit of just kind of indulging too much. You know, there was popcorn in the house, there's Oreos, all this crap that's not nourishing for you, but a very intense sense of satiation or satisfaction condensed into a very immediate moment immediately after consumption. And that's where the confusion is, that like your body's like, oh wow, this is really good for you, but it's not. And you just feel like you just feel horrible for a good stretch of time. Anyways, yesterday my dad was like, just breathe. He doesn't really cut to the truth very much, but yesterday he felt he needed to, and just kind of very, very briefly it was like, I worry about you. You know. And I thought about who I used to be. If he said that to me like years ago, I would have probably reacted to it in a very poor way. I would have been because I would have been reacting to this the pain body, as Eckhart Tolle describes it. And honestly, I think that would have come from identifying with, I'm a person who enjoys this kind of food that's fun in the moment but bad for me in the long run, and I know consciously that it's destroying me, but unconsciously I identify with. And I think that's where the offense would have been taken. That's where the offense would have been taken. And after thinking about that, I started thinking about how sometimes I say what's on my mind, I speak from the heart, and people get offended. And so, all to say, I've been on both sides of that fence. Yeah, I've been on both sides of that fence. I have the view, I have empathy, and I feel both sides of that kind of interaction of identifying with pain. And so my point is, follow your pain and it will lead you to the truth. Because going back in time and thinking about who I would have, the person I was who would have reacted poorly to truth, you know, using this example, applying this knowledge to that, going back in time, if I feel pain towards something, you know, and instead of running away from pain, which is a very natural response to any living creature that is programmed to survive and ensure that the next breath comes. Gosh, I have a lot to say about that alone. You know, it's only natural to react that way when survival is such a crucial part of thrival. You need to survive to be able to thrive. But if you're only ever focused on surviving, you hold yourself back from thriving. So there's a time and a place for all of it. Ecclesiastes wisdom right there. There's a time and a place for everything under the sun. Full focus on survival has its place and its time. And then allowing it to just trusting it to leave it alone and move on to where your focus needs to be for that moment. Trust that your body knows how to survive. Now your conscious mind, the smaller part of your brain that that does not do the heavy lifting but steers the ship. Now that part of your brain can focus on the new information and keep your whole system updated very well. So follow your pain, because it will lead you to the truth. Trust that your feelings are there to teach you. It feels like they're there to punish you. They're really just trying to teach you and get your attention so that you can do what you're meant to do. Do the kind of thing that the aligned you would do. They're there to teach you where your focus needs to be. And from there, you can align yourself better because you have the answers that you need. So follow your pain, follow, and you'll, follow your pain. I might have to make a part 2 to this, but you know what, fuck it. Quick note on your next breath. Somebody very wise told me that if you had all the money in the world and you had to trade it in to take one more breath, you would choose. So if you had the decision of having all the money in the world or having one more breath, everyone would choose, and you had to have one or the other. You can't have both. Everyone in their right mind would choose having one more breath. Therefore, one breath that you have at your disposal is worth more than all the money in the world. As someone who's done cold plunging, it's very hard to find peace in that kind of discomfort, right? And here's what's so beautiful is that the only way, and this is me speaking from experience, the only way I've ever been able to consistently find peace and get into a flow state in that incredibly uncomfortable space of below 50-degree water, sometimes like lower 40 degrees. The only thing that could ever keep me from going insane and traumatized from all the stress is regulating my breath, and somehow just with practice being able to take full deep breaths. And I would close my eyes, just really get honed in on my breathing rhythm, and next thing I know, I look at the clock and 3 minutes have gone by, and it felt like I just took 5 breaths. What? But time just flies by, and it's very difficult to understand that space. Eckhart Tolle describes it as the space between the silence between thoughts. But the more energy you spend in that area of the silence between thoughts, the more of a healing effect you have. Because after I get out of that space and time, I get out into the real world, and I work in an inpatient psychiatric unit. So sometimes shit goes down, and that was part of the reason why I started to do cold plunging a lot, because I knew that if I could calm myself down in that area, I could calm myself down anywhere. And there would be times where shit would pop off, and I would just be cool, calm, and collected, able to make the best sound decision in that moment, untroubled by external forces. And shit always goes my way. I mean, always. There's going to be things outside of your control, but if you are confused about what is in your control and what is not in your control, you're going to up the chances of chaos and up the chances of regret. So don't do that. Yeah, look for peace, look for serenity, allow wisdom to guide you. I'll end on this serenity prayer. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Happy now, everybody.